The difference between rich and poor, fulfilled and frustrated, isn't luck. It's philosophy. A man with a daily habit beats a man with a big dream if the dreamer doesn't act. And the one who thinks long-term, who plants seeds when others look for fruit, he inherits the harvest others only wish for. Wealth, success, joy, they don't show up in a day. They show up when the days have been invested wisely. So, here's the challenge I offer you today. Shift your focus from what happens now to what multiplies later. Think long, act small, repeat daily, and watch what happens when time, discipline, and vision meet. The tragedy of life is not that we aim too high and miss, it's that we aim too low and hit dead center. Most people don't fail because they lacked talent or time. They fail because they spent years majoring in minor things. You see, the clock is always ticking, but the question is, are you building something with the time or just watching it pass? The truth is, every dollar you touch is a test. Will you spend it, waste it, or will you multiply it? Most people were taught how to make a living, but not how to create a fortune. They were handed a job description, but never a wealth philosophy. And without that, they trade their time for money for life. So the real question is not, how much do you have? It's, what will you become to build more of it? That's what we're here to learn. Not just how to build wealth, but how to become the kind of person who multiplies it with wisdom, patience, and daily disciplines. Because when you change, everything around you begins to change too. You know, one of the greatest misconceptions people have about budgeting is that it feels like punishment. But the truth is, budgeting, when done with the right philosophy, is the gateway to freedom, not restriction. The goal is not to limit your lifestyle. The goal is to direct it. I often tell people it's not what you earn, it's what you do with what you earn that makes all the difference. And that's where the 70-30th rule comes in. Here's how it works. For every dollar you earn, live on 70 cents. That's your lifestyle money. That's where your rent, food, clothes, fun, and daily living come from. But the key is what you do with the other 30 cents. That's where the future begins. Take 10 cents and save it. Not for emergencies, but for a sense of security, for margin, for sleep at night peace. Another 10 cents, invest it. Let it work while you're asleep. Let it multiply. And the last 10 cents, give it away. Yes, give it. To a cause, a person in need, or a mission that stirs your heart. Why? Because it keeps you generous. It keeps you from becoming owned by your possessions. I learned this from a mentor early in life when I was broke and frustrated. He said, if you can't manage $1, you won't manage 10. And if you won't manage 10, you'll never manage 100. And it hit me. The money doesn't change the person. The person must change to attract and retain the money. So I started doing it. Even when I was only making a few hundred a month, I divided it. Some of it went into a simple savings jar, some went into a modest investment account, and some went into giving even if it was just helping someone buy a meal. Now, some people say, but what if my bills take more than 70%? And I understand that challenge. But that's the real lesson. If you're living on more than 70%, you're not living, you're borrowing from your future. And the future always collects. So the first job is to cut, eliminate waste, audit your subscriptions, learn the difference between wants and needs. Do it not from a place of guilt, but from a place of vision. Because every dollar you misplace is a dollar that could have been building your dream. One of the smartest moves you can make is to assign every dollar before it leaves your hand. If you don't tell your money where to go, it'll disappear and you'll be left wondering where it went. Money must be managed with clarity. That's the foundation of wealth. Not luck, not high income, not even inheritance. Just clear, consistent management. And here's the beauty. The 70-30ths rule scales. Whether you make $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month, the percentages stay the same. The amounts grow, but the behavior stays. That's how you multiply wealth, by multiplying discipline. And over time, the savings grow into capital. The investments begin to pay dividends. The generosity expands your impact and keeps your heart in the right place. You don't need a complicated app or spreadsheet to get started, just a notebook and a commitment. Write down what you made and then divide it. Simple. Then adjust your lifestyle to match your priorities, not the other way around. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, and more importantly, how much of what you keep multiplies and blesses others. So don't think of budgeting as chains around your feet. Think of it as the map to your freedom. Budgeting is how you declare that you're in control of your life, not your expenses. Budgeting isn't sacrifice-based strategy. And with the right strategy, even a modest income can create a magnificent future. If you really want to change your life financially, it won't come from random bursts of inspiration. It will come from building a routine, daily rhythm that moves you little by little closer to the person you want to become and the wealth you want to create. See, the wealthy aren't working harder. They're working more deliberately. They design their time with intention. Time becomes a tool, not something they just spend. And if you want to join that league, you must start treating time like a seed, not a commodity. I often say if someone followed you around with a camera and watched your day, every hour, every habit, every distraction, would it show the blueprint of someone becoming wealthy? Or would it show someone just surviving, reacting, and drifting? That's a sobering question, but a necessary one. Because if your routine doesn't build your dream, it's building someone else's. Here's a simple model to begin with. A 90-minute daily wealth routine. That's right. Just 90 minutes. Divided into 3 parts. And each one plays a key role in growing your value and your income. The first 30 minutes is learning. This is the time you read, study, listen to a podcast, or watch a course. Not entertainment, not scrolling. Intentional learning. Feed your mind with wisdom on money, business, communication, leadership, whatever adds value to your long-term goals. Remember, you can't earn more until you learn more. And this is how the wealthy stay ahead. They never stop learning. The next 30 minutes is creating. This is where the ideas start to take form. You write, record, build, plan, or outline something that adds value to others. Maybe it's a blog post, a video, a digital product, or content for your business. Maybe it's refining your offer, improving your pitch, or designing your next move. But this half hour is about taking what's in your mind and turning it into something others can benefit from. Creation is where money is born, because until you create, there's nothing to sell. And then comes the final 30 minutes, outreach or selling. This is the one most people skip because it's uncomfortable, but it's essential. This is where you send the emails, make the calls, post the offer, follow up on leads, or talk about what you've created. You don't get paid to create. You get paid when you connect that creation to someone who needs it. The wealthy don't wait to be discovered, they show up. They talk, they engage. They build bridges between their value and the people willing to pay for it. Now, you might say, but I'm busy. I don't have 90 minutes. And I understand. But here's the truth. You don't need more time. You need more intention with the time you already have. There are 96 blocks of 15 minutes in a single day. You're telling me you can't give 6 of those to your future? You're telling me the dream isn't worth 90 minutes of design? I built my career with just a few hours a day. In fact, I remember starting out with nothing more than a little apartment, a beat-up desk, and a vision. But every morning, I would wake up, study a little, write some ideas, and then reach out to someone, just one person who might listen, one person who might buy. That was my formula, and it worked. Not overnight, but over time it created results. And that's the key word: routine. Daily, small seeds. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. And when you do this for 1 week, you'll start to feel more focused. Do it for a month, and you'll begin to see momentum. Do it for a year, and you'll no longer recognize your old self. Because money follows rhythm. Success follows structure. And wealth follows the person who shows up with a plan. So if you want to build a money-making life, start by building a money-making routine. One of the greatest gifts a person can receive is an idea. Ideas have built empires, fed families, changed nations, and transformed lives. But here's what I discovered early on. Ideas are not enough. Ideas without execution are like checks with no signature, full of potential but ultimately worthless. If you want to build wealth, you've got to learn how to turn your ideas into income. That's where the real magic lies. Now, let me tell you something I started doing when I was young, broke and hungry for change. I began carrying around a little notebook, not fancy, just a plain one from the corner store. And I'd write down things people complained about. Everywhere I went, I listened. At the coffee shop, at the office, at the bus stop. People complain more than they compliment. And that's not a problem, it's an opportunity. You see, every complaint is a clue, every frustration is a need, and every need can become a product or a service. Most folks ignore complaints. The wealthy listen to them. That's how you spot a gap in the market. That's how you find where people are hurting and where you can help. I remember overhearing a conversation once at a hotel lobby. A couple was frustrated they couldn't find easy, bite-sized lessons on personal finance for their teenage kids. Ding an idea. I wasn't a teacher. But I knew some things about discipline, saving, and money. So I put together a small booklet, just 10 pages, simple language, printed it myself at first, gave away a few, sold the rest for $5. That was the beginning. Small, imperfect, but real. And once people started buying, I asked them, what did you like? What was missing? That feedback became my next draft, my next step. And eventually a small idea turned into something far greater. So here's how it works. You start with that list. Complaints, frustrations, problems people share out loud. Then you circle one that you can do something about. Not something you need $1 million or a PhD to fix. Just one small problem you understand. That's your starting point. Next, create a basic version of your solution. If it's advice, turn it into a guide. If it's a service, outline how you'll deliver it. If it's a tool, sketch how it might work. Don't wait for perfection. That's the trap. Perfection is the enemy of profit. The wealthy launch small, learn fast, and improve quickly. Then, test it. Find 3 people, not 30, just 3. Ask them to try it. Charge something, even if it's $5, because people treat free like free. But when they pay attention. Now here's the most important part. Listen, ask what helped them. Ask what confused them. Ask what they'd changed. That's the market speaking. And the market is the real teacher. Once you've got that feedback, you tweak, you adjust, you improve, and then you test again, this time with 10 people, then 20, maybe 50. Each step you're learning. Each step you're building. And with every cycle, your idea becomes sharper, stronger, and more valuable. Too many people wait for the perfect moment, the full plan, the big funding. But wealth isn't built on waiting. It's built on movement. It's built on learning in the field, not in your head. And the good news is, you don't need to quit your job. You don't need to go all in tomorrow. Just carve out an hour a day. Start your side idea with what you've got, where you are. Remember, the marketplace rewards value. Not just effort, not just time, value. And your job is to package your value in a way that helps others, solves problems, and improves lives. Do that, and money will follow. So start that notebook, capture the complaints, turn one into a small solution, and let the process of refinement lead you to reward. That's how ideas become income. One of the most overlooked assets in a person's life is what they already know. You've lived a life, you've had experiences, you've learned skills, some from jobs, some from mistakes, some from sheer necessity. But most people never stop to ask, how can I turn what I already know into something of value for someone else? The answer to wealth, for many, is not in starting something new, it's in packaging what they already have. Now, I learned this truth the hard way. I used to believe that if I wanted to increase my income, I needed a new opportunity, a new connection, a new breakthrough. But then I realized something powerful. The most valuable breakthroughs come when you finally understand the value of what's already inside you. The wealthy don't start by chasing opportunity, they start by inventorying wisdom. And then they package that wisdom. Let's say you've worked in customer service for 10 years. You've talked to angry people, happy people, confused people. You've learned what to say and what not to say. That's not just a job history, that's communication expertise. That's human psychology. That's emotional intelligence, and you could teach that. You could write a short guide, how to calm an angry customer in 60 seconds. You could record 5 simple videos and offer it as a mini course. You could offer consulting to small businesses with customer service teams who are winging it. That's how wealth begins, not with something new, but with something repurposed. Or maybe you've raised 3 kids while working full-time. You've figured out scheduling, meal prep, time blocking, morning routines, homework battles. Do you know how many parents would pay for your sanity-saving systems? That's a digital guide waiting to happen. It doesn't need to be 200 pages long. It just needs to solve a real problem for someone who's overwhelmed. Now, once you've chosen your topic, the thing you already know, you move to the second step, packaging it. Ask yourself, what would be the simplest way someone could learn this from me? Is it a checklist, a 5-step process, a weekly planner? Is it a recorded tutorial, a workbook? Don't overcomplicate it. Remember, people don't pay for information, they pay for clarity and convenience. Take what you know and make it simple to consume. And here's the third step. Talk about it. Share what you're doing. Mention it on your social media. Offer to give a sample. Ask 5 people you know if they or someone they know would find it helpful. Remember, the goal at first isn't to go viral, it's to go valuable. You don't need 1 million people. You need 5 people who get real results and tell 5 more. Too often, people underestimate their own knowledge because it feels normal to them. But what's normal for you may be transformational for someone else. That's the power of perspective. You've walked a path. Somebody out there is 5 steps behind you, looking for a light. Be that light. The wealthy don't just sell time, they sell insight. They know that time is limited, but insight is scalable. When you package your knowledge into a guide, a course, or a system, you've created an asset. And unlike trading time for money, that asset can earn while you sleep, travel, or think up your next idea. So start today. Make a list of things you've done well. Identify the lessons you've learned the hard way. Find the patterns in your past and then turn them into products for someone else's future. That's how you leverage what you already know and begin multiplying your wealth from the inside out. One of the most underestimated forms of capital in the world today is reputation. You can have skill, you can have knowledge, you can have ambition. But if people don't trust you, if they don't associate your name with integrity, an excellence opportunity will pass you by like a ship in the night. In life and in business, you don't get what you want, you get what you attract. And what you attract is based on who you've become. That's why building a rock-solid reputation is one of the smartest wealth strategies you can adopt. Now, I've met people with degrees, charm, and talent, yet they stay broke. Why? Because they make promises they don't keep. They're late. They cut corners. They deliver mediocrity when excellence was required. The marketplace might be slow to judge, but it never forgets. People remember how you made them feel. They remember whether you showed up prepared or scrambled last minute. They remember whether your word meant something or meant nothing. And sooner or later, reputation calls the shots. When I was just getting started, I didn't have the biggest resume or the biggest paycheck, but I made a vow early on. I would be the most reliable man in the room. If I said I'd be there at 8 o'clock, I showed up at 7:45. If I promised a report by Friday, they'd have it Thursday. If I agreed to deliver 10% more than asked, I gave 20. Not to show off. Not for applause, but because excellence became part of my personal philosophy. And over time, people noticed. And with that trust came opportunity-speaking invitations, partnerships, investments. Not because I was the flashiest, because I was the most dependable. You don't need to be brilliant to attract opportunity. You need to be consistent. You don't need to know everyone in town. Just be the one person others can count on. And that begins with simple habits. Show up on time. That alone will set you apart from 80% of the competition. Finish what you start. Most don't. Say less. Deliver more. Be the person whose name brings a sense of calm to others, not questions or concern. Now, you might ask, isn't this slow? Yes, it's slow at first. Character compounds like interest. At first, no one sees the deposits. No one's clapping for your quiet discipline. But one day someone says, I've been watching you. I trust you. Let's build something. And that moment, that's the opening that changes everything. Not because you got lucky, but because you earned it. I once mentored a young man who wanted to grow his consulting business. He had the technical skills, but no clients. I told him, for the first 90 days, forget marketing, focus on your name. Every client, every interaction, make it excellent. Follow up faster than expected. Fix issues before they're noticed. Anticipate needs. After 90 days, referrals poured in. He didn't need to chase opportunity anymore. Opportunity started chasing him. Your reputation is your magnet. And the more trustworthy you become, the stronger the pull. But the opposite is also true. One broken promise, one sloppy delivery, one missed deadline can undo months of trust. So guard your name like an asset, because that's exactly what it is. If you want to build wealth, focus on building yourself first. Character, reliability, excellence, these are not soft skills. These are wealth skills. And they're available to anyone willing to take responsibility. You don't need connections to start. You don't need capital to begin. All you need is the decision to operate with uncommon integrity and to do it every day. And remember, in the long run, it's not who you know, it's who trusts you. Because trust is the true currency of success. And once you've earned it, doors don't just open, they stay open. One of the most overlooked paths to multiplying wealth is through relationships, not shallow connections, but real trusted partnerships built on value and service. See, most people think wealth is strictly about numbers, income, interest, investments. And yes, those matter. But there's another form of capital, and it doesn't show up on a balance sheet. Relational capital. The truth is, one trusted relationship can open more doors than a decade of solo effort. But you don't build those relationships by networking, you build them by serving. Now let me explain what I mean. Most people approach relationships with the wrong question. What can I get? But that's a losing game because people can smell it. Desperation has a scent. Opportunism has a tone. And when someone senses that you're only connecting to extract, they close the door before it's even open. The better question is, what can I give? What value can I bring? How can I help this person win without asking for anything in return? When I was starting out, I made it my mission to serve. I would send people handwritten notes, articles I knew would help them, or introductions to others who could solve their problems. Not because I wanted something back. I just believed in planting seeds. And over time, those seeds grew into trust. That trust became opportunity. That opportunity became wealth. Let's say you want to connect with someone ahead of you, someone successful in business. Don't ask them to lunch to pick their brain. That's what everyone does. Instead, study them. Learn what matters to them. Find a way to make their life easier, even by 1 inch. Maybe you connect them with a resource. Maybe you offer a solution they hadn't thought of. Maybe you just share their work with sincerity. The goal isn't to impress, it's to invest. The principle here is simple. When you send value, value returns. It might not come tomorrow. It might not come from the person you helped, but it always comes. That's the law of reciprocity. And it's as predictable as gravity. The problem is most people don't wait long enough to let it work. They help once, don't see a result, and give up. But building wealth through relationships is like gardening. You plant, you water, you wait, then one day a harvest shows up from a seed you almost forgot you planted. I remember introducing 2 acquaintances early in my career. I had nothing to gain, just knew they could help each other. Years later, one of them called me and said, I never forgot what you did. I want you on this new project. That single phone call multiplied my income that year. Not because I asked, because I gave without expectation. Here's the other thing. Wealth-minded people love to collaborate, but only with people they trust. If your name is associated with honesty, generosity, and follow-through, the wealthy will open their circles to you. But you've got to earn your way in, not talk your way in. You don't attract high-level relationships by trying to impress. You do it by showing you're the real deal, helpful, reliable, humble. Now, this isn't just about business contacts. It's also about your inner circle. Are you building deep relationships with mentors, peers, and up-and-comers? Are you adding value to others consistently? Or are you sitting on the sidelines, waiting to be noticed? Stop networking. Start serving. Don't count. Followers cultivate trust. If you made it your mission this year to make 10 people around you more successful, without keeping score, your own success would rise without you even noticing. Wealth flows to those who create value in every direction, up, down, and sideways. So don't worry about building a network. Build a reputation for being valuable. Because when people know that you make them better, they'll invite you to bigger tables, better rooms, and greater opportunities without you ever needing to knock. One of the most underrated habits that wealthy people practice almost religiously is reflection. They don't just hustle harder, they think better. They study themselves like a business. Now, I often get asked, how do I develop that kind of awareness? And my answer is simple. Start journaling. Not for poetry, not for rambling, but as a tool for financial clarity. Every Sunday, sit down with a quiet mind and ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I earn? What did I learn? What can I improve? Let's talk about the first one. What did I earn? Most people have no idea what they really earned in a week. They get a paycheck, spend a little, maybe save a little, then it's gone. But the wealthy, they count every stream, every cent, every signal. Awareness is power. If you track it, you can grow it. And the point here isn't just to admire the numbers, it's to study them. Where did your money come from? Was it active income? Was it passive? Was it from 1 client or 3? And more importantly, what does it tell you? Maybe this was a strong week. Maybe it was a weak one. But either way, you now have data. And data leads to better decisions. Next is the second question. What did I learn? Wealth doesn't just grow through effort, it grows through insight. Did you have a sales conversation that didn't go well? What could you have said differently? Did you read something that changed your thinking? Did a mistake show up and teach you something? See, if you're not learning weekly, you're not compounding your wisdom. And wisdom compounds faster than money. Write it down. Capture the lesson. Don't let experience pass through your hands like water. Bottle it. Use it. Profit from it. And now the final question, this one is gold. What can I improve? This is where growth begins. Most people never ask themselves this. They just react. But improvement is not automatic. It's intentional. What can you do better next week? Maybe you missed your saving goal. Maybe you wasted time scrolling when you could have been studying. Maybe you could have handled that negotiation better. The point isn't to beat yourself up, it's to build yourself up. You can't improve what you're not aware of. But once you write it down, it becomes visible. And once it's visible, it becomes changeable. I've kept journals for years. And I'll tell you, some of my biggest breakthroughs didn't happen in the heat of the moment. They happened in the quiet of reflection. That's when the dots start connecting. That's when the wisdom kicks in. I remember one Sunday sitting down with my journal, frustrated. Income had stalled. Sales were flat. But as I wrote, I noticed a pattern. I hadn't followed up with warm leads from the week before. I was doing the work, but not closing the loop. That one insight, written down and noticed, led to a change in habit. That change led to more business. That's the power of financial journaling. Now, you don't need a fancy leather-bound notebook. A spiral one will do. You don't need an hour. 15 to 20 minutes is enough. But what you do need is consistency. Every Sunday. Make it a ritual. Brew your favorite cup of coffee. Sit down and ask those 3 questions. Learn, improve. Over time, you'll build something most people never have, a track record of your own growth. You'll be able to look back and see not only what you did, but who you became. That's more valuable than any stock tip or financial trend. The truth is, wealth doesn't just come from what you do. It comes from how well you understand what you do. And journaling bridges the gap between motion and meaning. If you want your finances to grow, start with your awareness. Because when you become aware, you become responsible. And when you become responsible, you become powerful. So, pick up the pen. It may be the most profitable habit you ever start. Let me tell you something important. Motivation is not magic. It's not a lightning bolt. It's not something you find one morning and then it carries you for a lifetime. No, motivation is like a spark. It starts the fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. What keeps the fire alive is discipline. What keeps it alive is clarity. What keeps it alive is purpose. And if you don't learn how to build a system that runs even on the days you don't feel like showing up, you'll stop every time the wind changes. You can't afford that not if you want to succeed. You've got to learn how to stay consistent when motivation fades. Because one thing's for sure, it will fade. Now, the way you beat that drop in motivation is by tying every action to a reason. You need a why that's bigger than how you feel today. When I was younger and broke, I didn't always feel like working harder or studying late. But I kept a picture in my wall at me family. That was my why. Every time I wanted to quit, I'd pull it out. It reminded me that I wasn't just working for dollars, I was working for dignity, for freedom, for the ability to choose my life rather than be forced to live someone else's. You need a reason that moves you, even when nothing else does. So, here's a strategy. Take your reason, your why, and put it where you can see it. Write it on your bathroom mirror. Put it on a sticky note on your laptop. Set it as the lock screen on your phone. And I'm not just talking about vague reasons like, I want success. That won't hold you when it's raining and your plan fell apart. Get specific. I want to retire my mother. I want to own my time by 40. I want to show my kids what's possible. Get crystal clear on the reason behind your routine. Now, beyond having a strong why, you need visible progress. One of the biggest reasons people quit is because they can't see how far they've come. The wealthy know this, they track everything. Not to obsess, but to encourage. Progress is motivating, even when it's small. So track your results. If you're saving money, make a chart and fill it in every week. If you're learning a new skill, log every hour you put in. If you're building a business, write down your wins, even the little ones. The brain loves progress, it's fuel. And when you see how far you've come, it gives you energy to go further. Systems beat feelings. Let me say that again. Systems beat feelings. You won't always feel like waking up early. You won't always feel like making that call or reading that book or following that budget. But if you've got a system, a morning routine, a financial plan, a checklist of daily non-negotiables, then your success doesn't depend on how motivated you are. It depends on how committed you are. And commitment can be built like a muscle. You just have to keep showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. I'll tell you a little secret. On the days when you don't feel motivated, but you do the work anyway, those are the days you build self-respect. And self-respect is where true confidence comes from. You start to trust yourself. You start to believe, I don't quit just because it's hard. I keep going because my reason is bigger than my resistance. So tie your actions to a reason. Track your progress like it matters, because it does, and build systems that hold you when emotion doesn't. Let others ride the waves of motivation. You build the boat that sails no matter what the weather is. Because the people who succeed long term, the ones who build real wealth, real impact, real freedom, they aren't the ones who were always motivated. They're the ones who stayed consistent. Let's talk about something the wealthy understand and the average person tends to forget. Growth. Real, lasting, meaningful growth takes time. It's like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check the roots. You water it. You give it sunshine. You trust the process. But here's the trick. While you are patient with the growth, you must be urgent with the action. That's the balance. That's the discipline. That's the mindset that multiplies wealth. See, most people flip this upside down. They want results fast, but they take action slow. They dream big dreams, but they move at a snail's pace. They say, one day I'll build a business, or one day I'll start investing, Or one day I'll get serious about my finances. But let me tell you something. One day is the favorite day of the poor. The successful, they start now. Not because they're guaranteed results tomorrow, but because they know tomorrow is shaped by what they do today. I remember when I first decided to change my financial life. I had big visions, but very little to show for it. And it would have been easy to delay, to wait until I had more money, more time, more confidence. But if I'd waited, I'd still be waiting. Instead, I started small. I picked up the books. I studied for 30 minutes a day. I saved a few dollars a week. I made my first investment, even if it was tiny. And over time, things began to shift. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because small actions, taken consistently, compound into extraordinary results. Let me give you a principle. Don't delay what compounds. Don't wait to save. Don't wait to learn. Don't wait to start. The time to begin is now, not because it will make you rich overnight, but because it's the only way to get rich over time. You plant the seed today so you can enjoy the fruit tomorrow. But if you never plant, you never harvest. It's that simple. The marketplace doesn't reward perfection. It rewards participation. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to move. The greatest killer of dreams isn't failure, it's hesitation. It's the pause, the I'll do it later. Every moment you wait is a moment you could be compounding. Every hour you delay is an hour your money or your skills could be growing. So take the pressure off trying to be perfect and put the pressure on being in motion. So, be patient with the results. Be patient with the growth. But be urgent with your efforts. Move with purpose. Act today not because it guarantees riches by tomorrow, but because tomorrow rewards today's discipline. The future belongs to the people who start now.